Hi fern lovers, we're now on day 15, so we're entering the third week of having fern with us, and I'm going to film a second video in the series talking about how dogs learn. So if we can figure out how dogs learn, then we become better teachers. So we'll do a recap on the first video. The first video we found out that dogs learn by association, so they associate something that they are doing with a consequence, and a consequence could be a good consequence, so praise, reward, food, a toy, a stroke. It could be a bad consequence, it could be aggression, it could be shouting at, it could be a smack on the nose. Don't ever smack your dog on the nose, don't ever smack your dog, but some people do. Or it could be, the consequence could be nothing at all, it could be completely ignoring it. So for example, Fern's sitting here now chewing on a little bone. There's no consequence from me, so that's basically saying it's okay if you want to do it. So no action is action in itself. So we need to associate in the dog's mind something good. A good reward means that what you're doing is good, we want it and we're trying to encourage it. Could be something bad, so that means whatever you're doing we don't want, and if you do it again this is what happens. Or by completely ignoring it, we're saying that's fine if you want to do it. We talked about dogs learning for themselves versus dogs being taught by us. So for example, a dog sitting, the way I teach a dog to sit is I wait till she does it, so she puts her own bum on the floor. Now I can encourage that by lifting my hand up or lifting food up, but she's actually done that movement herself. The other way of teaching a dog to sit is some people lift the chin, push the bum down. Now you're forcing that move. If a dog learns something for itself by doing it itself, you tend to find that's a far better way of you forcing the action out of the dog. So if you're calling a dog to you, encouraging the dog to come to you and letting the dog make its own mind up, shall I go to him or not, is far better than having it on a big long line, pulling it in, reeling it in like a fish, because it might not want to, but it's being forced to. So a dog always making the decision for itself is optimal, it's what we want. So we don't want to be pushing bums down, we don't want to be pulling dogs in, we don't want to be forcing them down into a lying position or anything else like that. We want a dog to make that move of its own free will. We'll give it a reward, and then the dog's learning then that, hey, I do this behaviour, I get that good reward, and the dog builds that association that we've spoken about. We spoke about 1 second, so if you're going to praise a dog or correct a dog or whatever it may be, you've got to do it within 1 second of the dog giving you that behaviour. So the dog sits, and within 1 second you've got to be really sharp, you've got to say good girl. If the dog sits, stands up and walks away and you say good girl, you're rewarding what has happened in that last 1 second, the last thing that the dog's done. And the last thing that the dog did was stood up and walked away. So every time you say sit, the dog will think that that means stand up and walk away, and we don't want that. So you've got to be really sharp and really on the ball, you've got to be within a second and treat the behaviour that you're getting in that second. And that's it for the recap. So in this one, in part 2, now we know those things, we can start applying them. So we know that a dog learns by association. So take the act of a dog coming towards us. If we call the dog and it comes towards us, that's good, so we want to praise it. That dog then has built that association, well, it hasn't built it, started to build the association with me running towards daddy, with daddy being really excited, and he gives me a big fuss when I get there. What you've then got to do is repeat that over and over and over and over and over. That's what builds the habits, that's what builds the pathways in the dog's brain to eventually hear the word come and know what it means. So repetition is the second thing. After you've built an association, you need to repeat that association over and over and over. Now you after, little lady? There you go. Second thing is body language. Now, if you watch a few dogs together, or a pack of wolves on telly, or whatever it may be, if you're very observant, you'll notice that they don't sit there talking to each other. They don't send emails to each other. They don't write things down on notice boards. Everything they do is done through their body language. Their eyes, the foreheads, the teeth, the gums, the tails, their foot position, leg position, their heads, how the back is, how the fur is, loads of different things. But one thing they don't do is make much noise. They tend to make noise if they're hurt, or they tend to tell another dog that it's hurted, or they'll tend to make noise as a warning to stop doing what you're doing. Apart from that, there's no noise. If you can get that into your head, you can become a better teacher of your dog, because if you look at other people with their dogs, they're running around making noise, shouting, come here, sit, down, come, stay, wait. The dog doesn't hear that. It's just white noise in the background. What the dog's doing is reading your body language. So if you're calling your dog towards you and you're going, come on then, come on, nice and cute, the dog's going to like that and it's going to come towards you. If you're calling your dog towards you and you're going, come on, come here, your dog isn't listening to the words you're saying. Hey, it's okay. The dog isn't listening to the words you're saying, the dog's reading your body language. So your body language has got to match your expectation of the dog's behaviour. You're calling the dog towards you, you've got to be inviting. If you're punishing your dog, you've got to look slightly menacing and you've got to mean it. Here's a good girl. So bear that in mind. No matter how annoyed you are with your dog, if your dog's got off lead and you've been calling it back to you and you spent 10 minutes, the last thing you want to do is show in your body language that you're really annoyed with your dog, that you're going to throttle it the second you get your hands on it, that you're going to lock him in the car and you're never going to talk to him all the way home or wherever it may be. You've got to give the impression through your body language that you are going to have loads of fun with your dog, that you're really inviting, that you'd love him to come towards you, and it's the best thing that dog can do. Try and cut out all of the noise. The dog doesn't listen. And the more you make noise, the less consequential it becomes to the dog. So when you do need to make noise, when you do need to give an instruction, if it's about to run across the road and you shout stop or wait or whatever your command might be, if he rarely hears that, he's going to listen to it. If he hears it all the time, it's just going to be white noise and he's going to carry on what he's doing. So noise doesn't mean much to a dog. And on the basis of that, the volume of your noise means nothing either. So if you say to your dog, sit, and he ignores you, then by saying sit, makes no difference whatsoever. You can get as loud as you want, it makes no difference to the dog. The only way you need to increase volume is if the dog's further away, or there's background noise, or there's something that's stopping the dog from hearing you properly. So try and bear that in mind. As less verbal communication as possible is better, and when you do it, noise is inconsequential. When I'm talking to my dogs, everything's nice and calm and quiet. So I'll say, Fern come, Fern sit, Fern down, Fern wait, whatever it may be. There's no shouting, there's no volume, because all it's doing is creating stress in you, which then passes over through your body language to the dog. So nice and calm. Try and cut the words or white noise out, and volume is inconsequential. So we know about body language. We've got to look at the dog's body language as well. So if you're trying to teach a dog something, sit for example, if you walked up to this puppy now and said, Fern, sit, you'd get no reaction whatsoever. She doesn't even know her name yet. Here's a good girl. What we need to do first is get the behaviour. So we need to get the dog to sit. Then we need to reward it within that 1 second, and then we need to repeat it. Repeat it until that dog has sat thousands and thousands of times. It's only then when she knows the behaviour of putting her bum on the floor is rewarding, and mummy and daddy like that, and this is me doing this gets good things, that we can then start adding a sound. Now that sound can be you saying the word sit, that sound can be a little click like that. Sometimes I use clicks for the dog, and it could also be a whistle or a clap of your hands or whatever it may be. They're all just sounds to the dog. And if you go back to week 1, or sorry, part 1, all we're doing is teaching association, so helping the dog build associations between a sound and an action. So it's only once she's done that behaviour, or given you that behaviour of putting her bum on the floor thousands of times, and learnt that that pleases you, you then start adding the sound. Now we're in week 3 of having Fern. We've probably done 7 to 10 days of getting the action of sitting, and she knows it pretty well now anyway, but we're going to keep doing that. But it's probably only going to be today, tomorrow, and the next few days when I'm going to start adding that sound of the word sit to it. So there's no rush with things like that. If you take your time but get things nailed down absolutely perfectly, you're going to have better long-standing results. You might do it straight away at first, but when there's better things for them to do, it'll all go out the window. So we want long-term habits, associations, patterns in the dog's brain. And the way to do it is get the body language first, repeat, and then once that's gone into the dog's head, and those pathways have been formed in the brain that me doing this action gets a reward, we can then associate a sound to it. And that's all we're going to talk about in this one. We're going to film another one at some point soon, hopefully, so we can follow on from it. And as I promised in the first one, I'm going to do a video on how to clicker train a dog, because if you've never had a dog or you've never done clicker training, it can be very useful and speed up the process. So thanks for watching, and we'll get another one to you soon.